Welcome to Elliott's PT podcast. I'm here to help you find your balance and live your best life guilt-free. I don't believe there is a one-size-fits-all approach for health and fitness. We're all different and we need to find out what works for us. I'm passionate about helping people make realistic, long-term lifestyle changes that they will stick to and they will take with them forever. I don't believe in crazy diets or short-term fixes. We all need to live and find a perfect balance in diet and exercise that suits our individual needs. I want to help you find your exercise mojo, feel great and achieve wonderful things. Here is Elliott's PT podcast by Renae Elliott.
Hello, and welcome back to Elliott's PT podcast. Well, it is a new year, and I'm sure you've heard lots of things about, there's all lots of buzz at the moment about setting new goals and, planning for the new year and all of those things. And goal setting is something that I actually really love doing, and it's something that I do all the time. I'm always setting new goals and reassessing and all that throughout the year. So, but I really do love the new year for kind of resetting and looking at this stuff. But the thing is with goal setting is lots of people set them at the start of the year. I think by the middle of February or, they've already given up on them. So, there's only been, I think, by within 6 or so weeks, people have already given up on what their goals were. And I don't want that for anybody. So I want to give you my best goal setting tips on what you can do for your goal setting and how to make sure that you actually follow through with them and they actually happen. And with training people throughout the years, I just see the same thing with lots of people, and I just don't want that to happen to you this year. So here is my tips for you on what you can do to make sure that you set the goals and that they are actually bulletproof and they come true. Firstly, I wanted to go through some really interesting statistics that I found out. So 83% of people don't actually even set goals. So that's massive. But yeah, how? It is so good. Goals, it doesn't have to be crazy goals, but just to have, it's so good. I just think it's so good to have something to work towards. So 83% of people, they don't even set any goals at all. Now, there was a study done by Harvard, and they found out that 14% of people, they have a plan, but their goals are unwritten down. So they don't have them written down. And only 3% of people have their goals written down. So what do you do when you set goals? Are you somebody that has this plan in your head? Do you set the goals in your head, or do you actually take the time and write them all down? I'd be really, really interested to know. So please make sure you let me know. And of that 14% who have the goals but they don't write them down, they're actually 10 times more likely to be successful than someone without those goals. So 10 times. So just because they have this plan, they've obviously made this plan ahead of their goals, they are 10 times more likely to be successful. And of that 3% who have written goals, they are 30 times more likely to be successful than the people that have the goals planned in their head, let alone the people that don't even have the goals. So that's 30 times more successful because they have the goals written down. This is why I think it's really important to write your goals down, because lots of times they become in your head and they just become jumbled. By having your goals first, so by at least having your goals in your head, you are 10 times more likely to be successful. But by writing them down, you're actually 30 times more likely to be successful. So I'm hoping that by hearing this, it might encourage you to actually get your goals out of your head and put them onto paper. And what happens is we often start with goal setting. So you might have a goal in mind and you might say, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do. But you forget about actually what's the process for that. So that's what I want to go through today, is how I feel is a really good way to get your goals and to actually have your goals, to have them, to have a plan, because we can say lots of things and we can say we want to achieve things, but there's lots of these action steps that need to happen in between in order for you to get your goal. And it's really important, I think, to remember that it's really setting the goal. That's the end result, but it's what happens, the journey along the way. That's actually the real fun thing, but the really important thing to focus on. But when everyone's focusing on this end point, they're forgetting about the journey, and that's sometimes why you don't actually get to the end. So what I suggest is this is what I did this year, and I do something similar most years. Is I sat down, I made sure I had some time on my own, I had a bit of quiet. I sat down and I had my pad out. I have pads, I have writing pads all the time. I have them all around the house. It really annoys my husband because I've always got pads everywhere. But I'm a writer. I like to write things out. I don't like to put it in my phone. I like to write it on a piece of paper. And I sat there and I thought, in a year's time, I want to sit in the same spot. I sat at the front of my house. We have this little patio thing at the front. I sat there. I deliberately chose to sit right in nature, because I wanted to I just wanted to be in nature and just be with my thoughts. And it was my choice, be with my thoughts. And I thought, where do I want to be in a year's time? So where do I want to be in 1 year's time sitting here? What do I want to look back and think of? So what do I want to look back and say, this is what I did, or this is where I am now. So I sat with those thoughts and I thought about where I would like to be. And then from there, I thought about that, then helped me to write some goals of what I wanted to achieve throughout the year. So I wrote those goals down. So I wrote those goals down of what I wanted to do. And then I took each goal and I broke it into action steps. So let's say that a goal was, so one of my goals was, to be more, to have, I want my kids to have memories that I want to create different memories, and that for the kids that they'll remember forever. My kids are 8 turning 9 and 4 turning 5. And I know in a couple of years time, or maybe, 4 or 5 years time, Cooper's going to become a teenager and he's not going to want to spend as much time with us. So I really want to spend this year focusing on my family and being more connected as a family and creating these memories that they're going to last forever. So that was one of my goals. So from there, so that's a goal of mine. So then I broke that down there more. So what does that actually mean to me? So what does that goal mean? So for me, it means that and this is my action steps that I then wrote out. So my action steps were things like making sure that I have one-on-one time with each member of my family. So that was one thing, setting that one-on-one time. And the next thing was making sure that because I want to create these memories. So then I was like, we need to do at least one specific family activity a week. That's just us. And then I wanted to create doing different activities every month, like going away somewhere or doing something. So I broke it down to those things. And so now I've got these kind of action steps. I then want to look at how am I going to make sure that I put these things in place. So then I thought about it even more. About what I then need to do to make sure that this happens in place. So it's good to say, yes, I want to spend one-on-one time with each child, but how is that going to happen? So I then said, I'm, going to need to speak to my husband about this, make sure that he's on board with it too. We have little meetings during the week. So I was like, right, we're going to plan these things and we have our meetings. And so then I needed to go to that next level to see how I need to make sure it happens. So that's what I suggest to do so I wrote down, I think I had about 5 or 6 goals, and then I turned over the page and then I did action steps for each goal. So I wrote them all out. So I spent the time writing those action steps for each goal and what needs to happen in order in order to, so then that's giving me my pathway. So that's kind of giving me a pathway of the things that I need to do in order to achieve this goal. So, and then, and then what I need to do. And so then I need to say, well, what other steps do I need to take? So my other steps is I need to make sure I'm booking things in advance, that are like because I'd like to do, some things that I'd like to do is I'd like to do like a farm stay and to take them to different, so those things need planning. So that's why I wrote those next steps out. And then the next level that I want you to go is how are you going to be accountable? Because I feel like that this is where people, you need to put things into place to make sure that you have, so you can be accountable to like a coach, to, your friend, your partner, any of those things, but you need some level of accountability. So for me, I already spoke to Lee, my husband, about this, and I said, this is what I want to do this year. This is my goal. I actually let him read my goals, and I said, this is what I want for us as a family, this year, blah, blah. So I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page. And so then I need this level of accountability of how am I going to make sure that I'm sticking to this or that it's happening. And that's why it's always good to have somebody kind of in your corner. And that's why I spoke to Lee about it, so that he knew, so we were on the same page. And so then, we can be continually checking in. So the step that I find that people miss again the most is the check-ins, is it's checking in with yourself. So because I love pads and writing paper, I got this new pad that I got for Christmas. So I wrote all of this on the front. So I wrote each page, each action step that I wrote out. I did all of that. I wrote out my action steps, and the pad that I have is split into four little sections. So then I'm going to use that for each quarter of the year. And I'm always going to have these goals at the start of the pad. And so then I'll always be able to look back and remind myself of what I actually wanted to do. And then I'm going to be continually checking in to see where I'm at. Now, as the year goes on, you can change your goals. Your goals don't have to be, well, I've set them now and that's what it has to be. Not at all. We do things like, the Little Black Dress Project, and I have people that change their goals halfway through, which is totally fine, because sometimes you relearn more about yourself. But what I want you to do is I want you to be checking in, because am I still on track? Am I actually still on the way to getting where I want to be? Because sometimes we get sidetracked. We get sidetracked with things, and it's really good to have. That's why it's so important to have it written down. It's really good to have it written down and to be able to look back and be like, that is what I wanted to do at the end of at the start of the year. Am I there? No. Am I, and then you can get yourself back, kind of back and working toward. And I really feel that the check-in is one of the reflection, and the constantly checking in is one of the most important things, that you should be doing when setting your goals out for the year. And it's missed all the time. People just, I want to do this. And, and the action of breaking your goal down into action steps. Again, so that is the goal. You've got this goal. So let's use weight loss as an example, because I know that's something that lots of people talk about. So let's use weight loss as an example. So say your goal is to lose 5 kilos, right? So you've got to give yourself, that's your goal. You've got to be realistic about it and say what's the time frame that you want to do about it. I would then suggest to think about what do you think needs to happen in order to lose that weight. So what would be some of your action steps? So it could obviously be, exercising, exercising. What are you doing with your food? What are you doing with your sleep? What are you doing with your stress level? So you could break those things down. And so let's say so we're looking at weight loss, and then you would have those action steps down of what you need to do in order to lose the weight. And then you need to work out, how can I fit that into my life? So if you said you're going to exercise every day, you're going to eat, only lettuce and chicken or something silly like that. If you're going to have those things, then I need you to think about, is that realistic? actually realistic to me of what I can achieve? Because if the goal is not realistic for you, of course you're not going to achieve it. So then you would be looking at that. So then again, we have these action steps that we need to take, and then you need something to check in. So if it was something like, if your goal was something like weight loss, I because I'm a pen and paper person, I love having something that you can tick off. So, so you want something where you can write it down and you can see, okay, so I said I needed to do 3 workouts a week, and tick them off. Have I done them? Have you, and then you can check in every week to say, yes, I've done this. Where has my food been at? Yep, my food's been on, have I been sleeping well? Oh no, I'm not with them. And when you have these things written down, you can see where the holes are. So then you can fix them. But again, if you're not writing it down, if you're not checking in, if you're not reflecting, you have no idea where things might be going haywire. And the thing is as well with goals and all of that stuff, life is not perfect. So life is not perfect, and it is never going to go perfectly as we expect. So it's just not. And it is never just this straight path forward. There's always a speed hump, and there's always something a blocker, something you're going to run into, that is going to set you off path. But the thing is that if you come back to your goals that you've written out at the start of the year, this will keep you back on track. And I'll also think to really expect for there to be a speed hump. Expect for there to be a kink in the road or something that because it's always going to happen. But what I say is, when this stuff happens, be excited, because it means you're learning. It means you're learning. It's part of the process. So, yep, okay, that's it. Yep, I've hit that speed hump, but I've worked through it, and I keep moving forward, because there will be things to derail you. They will be there, but you're not going to let that stop you. You're going to say thanks for the lesson and keep moving forward. And sometimes these little things are the best lessons that we can have. I had somebody who was doing the little black dress last cycle that we did, and she always said that she always got to a point where in her journey with things where it just got too difficult and she gave up. So I said to her, let's focus on making sure that we don't do that this time. So when things got hard, like kids got sick, she got sick, all of those things, we really worked through it to make sure that she didn't give up this time. But the best thing about that is, when she was writing out her goals, she'd looked at what she had done previously. So that is another step that I would recommend to take, is when you write out your goals, or when you're thinking about your goals, I want you to think about what have you done previously. Because if you are trying to do the same thing over and over and over again, and it's that insanity quote is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. So you need to do something different. And so what she did is that she reflected. You want to look at what you've done before. So she looked back at what she'd done before, and then she said, well, I've got to be different. I've got to do something differently. And the other thing is really good, is having that awareness of maybe things that you've tried before and how they didn't work. So once you're aware of that, then you can move forward, because again, all of those things, if they're not failures, they're learning lessons. So learn from everything that you've done previously. Learn from it and say, well, this didn't work for me before, so I'm going to try this a different way. Come at it with a different approach. So really look at that. So I just love New Year's. I love it. I love it. I love setting goals, and they are something that I'm always looking at. But what I want you to do this year is, I want you to be different about it. Okay, so I really want you to be different about it, and so that you make sure that you are in that percentage of people that actually achieve their goal. So, you're in the 3, so be the 3% that actually write their goals down. And, and you are already, by just writing them down, you're going to be 30 times more likely to be successful. So recapping what I want you to do is I want you to write your goals down. I want you to then break it down into action steps. Okay. I want you to take action steps for each goal. I want you to reflect and then work out how can you be accountable? How can you be who's going to help you? Who's going to be your accountability partner? And how can you be accountable to yourself to make sure that you achieve things, that you actually do stay on track with your goals. And then I want you to be checking in with yourself constantly. Okay, so this is what I feel is the missed part. I want you to be checking in with yourself constantly. The other thing that that I suggest to do is look at what you've done previously. So look at what you've done previously and see how you can use what you've done previously and to make sure that you're not repeating the same cycle and to move forward to it. My last tip would be to when you're looking at the things that you've done previously, it's really good to think about it when you have a clear head and when you're not maybe frustrated or angry or you're in that moment. Think about some things that you can do. So if you have a habit, let's say you're an emotional eater, and whenever you feel emotional, you go to chocolate or something like that, or you overeat or something like that. So what could you do when you have a clear head, what could you do instead? Could you go for a walk, drink a tea or something like that? So I want you to think about some things, some of these habits that you kind of know that you have, and maybe these habits that might not keep you on the pathway that you want to be on. And then I want you to think what you could do and write them down, because you want to write them down when you have a clear head. So then when you are feeling this way, you might remember what you've written down, you might be reflect, or you might be able to put things into place so that when that does happen, because it probably will happen, then you've got these kind of another thing written down for you to help you on your journey. All right. So hopefully that has helped you with goal setting this year. So please write them down. And if you need any help with your goals, send them to me. I would love to hear, and I would love to hear how you're going with them. All right. I will speak to you all soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Elliott's PT podcast. I hope you have been able to find this information of use to you. If you know someone who might enjoy this podcast, please share it with them and ensure that you subscribe so you can be the first to know when new podcasts are released. If you have the time to leave a 5-star review, that would be amazing and it would be greatly appreciated. If you do so, please screenshot and share onto any of our socials and tag us. Then email the screenshot to hello@elliotspt.com and we will send you a free gift to your inbox. Thanks so much. Have an amazing day. Speak soon.